Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the Resource Works Society. Welcome back to the show, Stewart.
Thanks, Jim.
Stewart, has there been any reaction so far to your extensive report, Real Jobs, Real Recovery?
You know, I think a lot of people like that terminology of real jobs. You know, what does it mean? Of course, anyone who's got a job would say, hey, that's a real job I've got. What we mean is in the sense that if we want to create new jobs, what is realistic rather than wishful thinking? And I think we've got so many opportunities in Canada that realistically we create these jobs pretty much as a matter of direct consequence from decisions around natural resources, because unlike almost anything else, we have complete control over natural resource decisions. Not over global market trends necessarily, but if we make decisions in Canada to develop resources and get those goods to market, resulting in real income for the country, then that's a real and discernible result that we can control. Unlike a lot of things that are dependent on the whims of markets and decisions that are just simply out of our control. And I think that's why it's been resonating. You know, we've had a lot of media coverage. People are talking about this. It's a bit of a contrast to some of the ideas out there that, you know, I don't quite understand it myself, but it's been argued that a pandemic and a totally crushed economy is the perfect time to completely change the economic structure of our society. I just don't, at any level, understand why this would be a good moment to do that when we're at our most vulnerable. You know, this is the time that we need to look to our strengths as a country and retreat to that base that we do well. And so much of it is, of course, about the thing I'd like to talk about so much all the time is natural resources. It's just a perfect fit. And manufacturing, which depends on that, and transportation, you know, it runs through the whole economy. And in contrast to this, we've got these ideas that, okay, let's just drop using the reliable energy sources we've got. Let's pivot the Alberta economy, that's such a huge part of the economy of the country, off the things that it's doing quite successfully and into something we don't really know what it is, but just do that new thing anyways. Don't bother trying to ask or understand what it is, just do it. So, you know, it's kind of crazy, turbulent times when ideas like that have any potential of foothold, but I think there is a sort of, I don't know, a romantic view that, yeah, if you wish, it will come true, like in some, you know, Hollywood musical. Unfortunately, reality is not a Hollywood musical. It's a lot tougher than that. You've got to grind things out, work hard, look for opportunities, innovate wherever you can, and that's where I think the proper focus ought to be.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Value from success, growth in discovery. Golden Arrow Resources is a well-funded gold-copper exploration company with proven management and prospective properties in Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Golden Arrow trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, symbol GRG, on Frankfurt, symbol G6A, and the OTCQB, symbol GARWF. For more information, visit us at goldenarrowresources.com or call Sean at 778-686-0135.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Stewart, can you give us some examples of where Canada could really kickstart the economy by exploiting our natural resources?
Yeah, I mean, the big area everyone wants to see is more innovation, more environmental competitiveness. That's sometimes seen as a polarizing issue. I don't think it should be that at all. We all want to live in a clean place where technology, science, innovation is at the heart of ensuring that we have a successful life on the planet and do so into the future. This is not some political controversy over whether you should or shouldn't have that. It's how do you get there. And I think there's an obligation to use the strengths and assets that we've got as Canadians to deal with this. And we do have a path there, and that path does run through our natural resources and our ability to use that in aligning climate action to developing the economy. And, we found with our advisors, we had a lot of volunteer advisors, people with all kinds of experience in industry, in politics, in academia, who contributed to our task force. This is what everyone wanted to talk about. And so we had a number of recommendations that came out. One of them was how do you align the climate action side of things with resource development? So, one thing it was observed is we lack a strategy, something that basic. We need a strategy that reconciles those objectives of climate with the export of low emission resource commodities, because that's what we produce in Canada. Just at one example, we produce aluminum in British Columbia, in Kitimat. It is one of the lowest emissions aluminum anywhere in the world. Why is that? Very simple answer. It's manufactured using hydroelectricity, which is green. And most aluminum in the world is manufactured using coal or natural gas or other fuels. So right away, you've got a product that is low emissions. And that's, right now we're hearing a lot about low carbon, low emissions. The Business Council of BC has had a new study out on this, very much at the center of how we can be part of that. Another thing that we're hearing about is coming piece of federal legislation, the Clean Fuel Standard. And there's a fear right now that we've got the feds and the provinces kind of doing different things with their greenhouse gas pricing systems, different approaches, whether it's carbon tax or carbon trading, this sort of stuff. The fear is that we're going to have a set of rules come in very soon that will create imbalances internally, that will create a tilted playing field on these taxes or cap and trade emissions trading allowances that will become barriers to internal trade in Canada, which, everyone wants to harmonize. I mean, you can't even sell BC beer in Nova Scotia without more paperwork than getting it into Europe. It's ridiculous. And so anything that exacerbates those existing problems is an issue we should be trying to solve. We're also seeing that we do have potential facilities and sectors that are best positioned to fast track the low emissions innovation needed in the recovery period. So we should focus in on those ones and stimulate them. There's one group I've done a little work with, quite a fan of. It's called COSIA, the Canadian Oil Sands Innovation Alliance. It's about a dozen of the big oil sands producers from Alberta. They got together years ago. I think they were sort of pushed by government as well as wanting to do this, and they put huge sums into developing technologies that they then share. And this is the thing about the alliance: whatever innovation one company develops, it shares with the other 11. So they all get the benefit of any innovation in lowering the emissions of oil sands production. And it's actually been phenomenally successful. In 20 years, we've seen, I think it's 20 years, or even less actually, lowering by 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions involved in producing oil sands barrels of oil, which is a level of performance not matched anywhere in the world. So, we've done a lot there, but, for some reason it doesn't get recognized as much as it should.
Well, you have to have a famous actor apparently promote your cause. And,
yes.
And what's more, I always wonder why people pay attention to what somebody's really good at acting. Well, have you done any degrees in environmental science? No. In fact, I quit school when I was in grade 7 to become an actor, and I haven't gone to school since.
That's right. And commanding trust with huge audiences of people who just take anything these people say at face value. It's funny how that can outweigh the value of all of the work done to very carefully build out these energy systems that are constantly improving. I think it's demoralizing for those in places like Saskatchewan, Alberta, who work so hard on this that they don't see the hope. But nevertheless, in our table recently at our task force, there was a lot of hope because there's so many specific things. I mean, you could read a report. It's at realrecovery.ca. I think if I get into some of the finer detail of it, it might be boring on capital expenditure eligibility programs. Let's not talk about that stuff, Jim, although it's in the report. I think just broadly speaking, we just need to support sustainable forestry, sustainable mining, developing the low emissions products that will be part of our future energy systems. We need those minerals and metals. Otherwise, we just can't have any of the future energy systems that people are so enthusiastic about. And incidentally, we can't have those systems either without a successful oil and gas industry. So, if we want to get serious about this and do things that we're best equipped to do, crack open that report and see what the steps are.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Somebody that people do listen to is Elon Musk, and he's saying, practical electrical planes are around the corner as he's improved battery technology. Well, the experimental study turning to practical is being done right here in Vancouver with Harbour Air. And they say they can go electric because they have short flights, 45 to 90 minutes, which is perfect with the batteries that they have now. But he's saying much longer flights. Well, if you switch to electric airplanes, your flights are going to be much longer. Don't forget, the fastest a prop plane probably practically can go is 350 miles an hour, versus a jet at 600. So I don't know if people want to add and, double the time of their trip. But also, what people haven't mentioned, when you go electric, you have to do a lot more mining for all those batteries because there's millions of airplanes. If they're going to go electric, you're going to need, a lot of material. So is that good for the natural resource industry?
Oh, it's definitely for the critical minerals and rare earths that are needed in these technologies. Canada has a place already pretty well established, but tons of potential upside that hasn't been fully explored or encouraged. We have, I think right now it's a pretty small slice of global rare earths output, a not insignificant one, but compared to, say, China, which by a luck of geology has got a huge amount of that share. There are those, whether it's cobalt or lithium. If you go to any mining expo in Canada, or you look at what's going on the junior mining exchanges and what fabulous ideas people are trying to raise money for, you can see that there's a real buzz in this area for exploration and development in Canada of this stuff. So definitely an area that we can be a player in more than we are now.
The first rare earths plant in Canada is being built in Saskatoon.
And that's just the place for it because they've got this long history in uranium. They've got the potash expertise. They really know how to focus the know-how and ensure you've got the policies in place and the transportation networks and all that. So there it is, right in the middle of the country. It's one of those overlooked assets. We don't talk enough about Saskatchewan. When we talk about energy in Canada and mining, we often are talking about Ontario, BC, Alberta, but a lot of action going on in Saskatchewan, who were actually good participants in the task force. They brought a lot of value, and I think we'll be hearing more about that as well. It's just in terms of mining, energy, agriculture as well, and agri-science. You've got a center of knowledge and practice there that should be able to support significant growth into supplying the energy systems of the future, because they're already doing it now.
Also, a lot of people don't know, everybody thinks China must have the world's most rare earths. That's why they do all the mining there and processing. No country has more rare earths than Canada.
Well, the problem with rare earths is they can be there, but they can also be very expensive to develop and energy intensive to process. So this is a big issue, and I think China has been able to exploit what it has there because it needs to. It's required for industry. But I think there's other countries that are manufacturing electronics, say like Korea. I was approached by someone from the Republic of Korea a couple of years ago. I'm not really a specialist in this. I'm not sure why they called me, but they wanted to find out where they could get some Canadian rare earths, and I pointed them to the Mining Association. I hope that helped them out. But you could tell what was driving this was, for a country like Korea, and imagine all the other countries in East Asia that aren't China, they don't want to be dependent on the Chinese imperium to get all of their stuff from, because why would China encourage their foreign manufacturing in countries like Korea if they want to keep that at home in China? So I think for the smaller countries, they are looking to Canada for an alternative to a rare earth superpower like China is.
Yeah, and doing business with China is kind of like riding the tiger. You never know what it's going to do and flip you off the back and eat you. And the perfect latest example is Canada and China were working on a COVID-19 vaccine, and then the Chinese government just stole all the information and now is refusing to share it.
Yeah, it's almost like before the mid-'80s. I remember in the 80s traveling around China, sometimes on the back of a donkey cart. Everyone was wearing the same styles of clothing. There were hardly any cars on the road. It was a big mystery. China was this sort of mystery to the outside world. What's going on there? Communist China. And then it all changed. And for the last 35 years, we've had this era of growth in China, pretty good relations with China, opening up to the world, all sorts of careers, people going from Canada to teach there, to get into the marketing or manufacturing, all these things that China does so well. But all of a sudden, for the first time in this era, it's all flipped, and suddenly China is not able to explain itself to the world. We're not happy with what we're seeing there with human rights, the encroachment of technology into lives not just in China but also abroad. I mean, people are living in fear in Canada because of things they have said or even say now about politics in Hong Kong. That's a terrible situation, and the Chinese government is playing a very risky game if it thinks it can treat its foreign relations this way or have this approach to it. So this is new thinking. I've spent decades with the comfortable belief that if we have successful trade and international diplomatic relations with China, this could be a good influence in the global order of things. And it's proving right now to be an assumption that is no longer valid. So where do we go from here? This is a difficult moment, Jim, and we have to apply some new thinking to it.
Yeah, we used to think free enterprise and capitalism would translate into democracy, but so far that hasn't worked out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And we can see how China approaches democracy if you see what happens in Hong Kong. Stewart, anything else we should know before we go?
Well, talking about innovation resources, one thing I've noticed is that in Victoria, where I spend a lot of time, and Vancouver, the homeless problem is just getting out of control. Now, let's not get into why it is. I mean, is it because of COVID? Is it, part of the economic depression or recession we're in? Probably something to do with economic factors. Nevertheless, there they are. And there is some made in Canada technology that is being used, not in Canada, but outside of Canada in the United States, or I think a little bit in Canada in the East, but is being used to help with better management of the homeless issue in places like Los Angeles. So there's a company in Calgary, Sprung Structures. They normally make these temporary structures that are for camps supporting oil and gas or mining. So they will come in, they'll put up this kind of giant tent with a solid frame. It's 4 seasons. They can completely control the environment inside of it. I think for years we had that Cirque du Soleil thing that would come to Falls Creek in Vancouver. That was probably a Sprung structure, but it was, certainly like what they do at Sprung. And then inside they could put housing. And so what they've done in LA, they're helping communities cope with homelessness through putting up these, they call them homeless navigation centers. And it's not the long-term housing and shelter, because social housing, bricks and mortar, that's going to take years to build, and hopefully we've got governments that are aligned and funded to be able to do that. But these are temporary, so you can have a place for intake, for assessment, so that the individuals on the street can be pointed into the programs, services that are going to deal with whatever the issues are that have put them onto the street. So in Southern California, there's about 20 of these structures. They're in San Diego, LA, Bakersfield, Sacramento, all over the place. And they can come in, they build these things quickly. They take less than a month to put up. Why aren't we, here's my point, Jim, why aren't we doing this in the country that came up with this product, in Canada here? Why in Victoria? Why in Vancouver and the other places experiencing this rampant homelessness are we not getting this? It would be so easy and cost efficient for taxpayers. And what a great alternative. In Victoria, they've been buying up the hotels that are there for the tourist sector, and turning them into homeless housing, which may or may not be a good short-term solution. But one thing I would imagine, if I was in the tourist industry in Victoria, I'll be kind of alarmed that affordable hotel rooms are suddenly gone, probably gone forever from the available bed units for the tourist industry. Because when that comes back, whether it's next year or the year after, they're going to have that many fewer hotel rooms available. So let's get going with some realistic temporary solutions to this.
Stewart, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks, Jim.
My guest has been Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the Resource Works Society. You can find him on Twitter at SJMuir. If you have any questions for Stewart or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.